before we start the session, I request Pankaj sir to students.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And before I say anything, couple of things. I would not like to take any credit for Hyderabad branch of SIRC of ISA. It's totally a baby of Hyderabad Sikasa and its team. So my hearty congratulations to Rajambal and your entire Sikasa team for pulling it off on the first. I think it's a record of sorts, Rajam. We have never done a program on first, but you managed it. Congratulations and keep it up for this. I welcome CMV Ramchandra sir also, and also like to thank him for joining Sikasa in sharing the views. So, friends, I'd not like to take much time of yours, except that all those who have joined this meeting, a hearty congratulations to all of you. By joining this meeting, you have proved that we as a CA students, the importance of reading the budget, reading not only the reading the lines, but reading in between the lines, trying to analyze what sentence affect which class of uh, your clients, what sentences, even from the exam point of view, so many things should have come at a later stage. So I would request a couple of things. One is, it's nice that you're not given any statement, so please don't just give statements as budget is good, budget is bad. For us, budget is a very important thing, and you and your principal will be carrying on the work for next year based on this budget. So please try to listen to the speaker, okay, with concentration. Try to check where Ramchandra sir is talking about, how he is reading the provision, how is he trying to dissect the provision. I think that would give a very important insight into the budget. And when you at a later date address the students or members as a chartered accountant, as a speaker, I think this would be a great training for all of you. So once again, I congratulate the Sikasa team and everyone who is attending the budget seminar, and let me also as a student attend this conference and not speak here. Thank you very much, Rajam, for allowing me to give the opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Rajambal ma'am to speak a few words.
Welcome, a hearty welcome to everybody, especially the chairman of Hyderabad branch of SIRC and the speaker for the day, Ramu sir. I welcome you for this budget session. When students actually came and told first itself we'll do a session, I actually went back and thought about the budget days as students, where budget used to be presented till 8, 9 in the night with breaks. And I thought, what if budget is not over? We are just getting over ambitious by announcing the session same day. But then somehow students said, no, it will not go on till such a long time. We can do it. Then I realized, yes, budget is not being so longer these days because the fine print that is coming in is actually making us sleepless, not the speech. So, like Pankaj sir has said, that this budget will keep us busy for the next 365 days and eventually as well. And this budget in the life of a chartered accountant is a very integral part. It is one annual day where all of us are glued to the budget, all of us are glued to the books, all of us are glued to whatever information and download we can get on this annual presentation in the parliament. And I have enjoyed myself thoroughly listening to the budget. And like Pankaj sir has said, let us not get judgmental about what is right, what is wrong, whether it is good or bad. Let us first try to understand that whether our understanding of the budget is in line with the experts. And let us just keep our minds open, unbiased in understanding this, because eventually only, I mean, our experiences are very less when compared to the experience of the faculty. We've tried to bring in best of the faculty for the benefit of students and participants, and I want you to be unbiased and please listen to the opinion before you form your own opinion about the things. So, saying these things, I wish everybody happy learning today and ever after. And I hand over the proceedings of the evening to our faculty person, Ramu sir. Back to you, Aditi.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sir, you can continue the session. Ramu sir, you can take over.
Thanks to one and all, Pankaj sir and Raja ma'am and everyone. And very special thanks to Sikasa. I am very privileged to take the session on budget today. So today I would like to take the session especially on the direct tax amendments as well as indirect tax amendments as well as other amendments related to law. These amendments we are going to cover today. Friends, let's start the budget discussion today. Today's budget as per the Finance Bill 2021. This is nothing but Finance Act 2021. You know the difference between bill and act. Once the Finance Bill got the approval of the Parliament as well as assent of the President, then it will be called as Finance Act. So today we are going to see the word that is budget analysis we are going to discuss today. So one thing for sure, if you open income tax textbook or income tax act or income tax rules, you will never ever find the word called as budget. The word budget won't be there. Budget is only the word which will be used in common parlance. That's it. There is no word called as budget in the income tax act itself. Okay, chalo. Let's start the topic. So that Finance Act bill, what are the discussion, what are the amendments or what are the changes made as per the Finance Act we are going to discuss today. Okay. So before going to this, I would like to cover certain fundamentals which are more important, which are more relevant for the discussion. So friends, today's our discussion is on union budget. Friends, union budget is an annual financial statement which contains the estimated earnings as well as estimated revenues particular belonging to particular financial year. So in a particular financial year, whatever our forecast, whatever our expected or estimated revenues and the estimated expenditures, these are going to set right at one place, that is the union budget. Generally, that union budget will be presented on the 1st February of each and every year. So friends, after independence, after 1947, the first budget was presented by, that is Shanmugam Shetty, on November 26, 1947. So that is the first budget, that is after getting the independence. Okay. Next one is Jawaharlal Nehru was our first finance. Is it audible now? Jawaharlal Nehru was our first prime minister, as well as he also acted as a finance minister, and he also held the finance portfolio during the tenure of 1958 to 1959. So he presented that budget also during that tenure. Next one, generally data presentation of budget. Long ago, once upon a time, the budget generally will be presented on the last working day of the February. Last working day of February of every year, they will present the budget. But after that, what happened in the year 2016? Arun Jaitley, late our finance minister Arun Jaitley has changed that one. He changed that tradition. That is, he changed the same to 1st February itself. So I hope you know, year and onwards nowadays we are getting the budget on the 1st February of each and every year. Next, but only in case of election period, election year, that is not possible. Presentation of budget on the 1st February itself is impossible. That is the reason during the election period, generally interim budget will be prepared. I repeat, interim budget will be prepared. See the thing, in a election year, interim budget prepared for 2 to 4 months roughly. So that budget will be presented only for short notice. After that, once that election is done, automatically the next upcoming government will present the budget. So in election year, generally they will present the budget twice. Okay. Next one, vote on account. Sometimes what happen, interim budget or vote on account will be prepared. That is roughly for 2 to 4 months, only short period. Generally in the election year or certain time, they will present this kind of budget, that is vote on account. If we wanted to go with these kind of amendments, these kind of budget discussions, we should know all these particular points. Next one, generally before budget, ahead of the budget, Alwa ceremony will be generally made. So once it is done, so all the things will be started related to printing of finance bill, and each and everything will be started. So slowly what happened? So government will take the steps by starting this Alwa ceremony. So that is just information sake. But this time, this budget as for this finance bill 2021, the specialty is there is no printing at all. Only ma'am, that is Nirmala Sitharaman ma'am, used only the tab for the presentation of the budget. Earlier, not like that. They will print that particular finance bill and they will distribute the same to each and every member of the parliament. But this time what happened? They never distributed like this because of this COVID issues and all. They wanted to go digitally. That is the reason they gone the same with the digital thing. So there is no printing at all for this time. So they used the app for the public purpose, whereas for the members purpose, they used the tabs and they gone for specifically for digitally they did it. Next one, Nirmala Sitharaman ma'am, she is presenting the third budget. So in her tenure, no, she is presenting third budget. This is the third time she is presenting. And once upon a time, railway budget is separate as well as finance budget is separate. But nowadays, not like that. Only one and only budget. So in the year 2017, what happened? No, the two budgets are merged together. So nowadays, there is no special budget for railway and special budget for the finance. So the two things, that is railway budget as well as a union budget, are presented nowadays commonly on the same day, same time. That finance minister, union finance minister will present this budget in both houses of the parliament. Okay. So next one, highest number of budgets, Mr. Morarji Desai. So our ex-finance minister, he only presented 10 budgets during the tenure 1962 to 1969. He presented total 10 budgets. So known Mr. Morarji Desai. After that, no, Indira Gandhi was the first finance minister who presented the budget. So at the time when Morarji Desai resigned, no, at that time, ma'am Indira Gandhi only presented the budget. She was the first lady who presented the finance bill as of now. And the second lady is none other than, so our current finance minister, our present finance minister, ma'am Nirmala Sitharaman. So friends, these are the just certain facts about the budget as well as finance bill. Now, let's have the discussion about this fiscal deficit, these kind of terms. Generally what happen, our expected revenues as well as expected expenditures will be there. No doubt, both the things will not match. Whenever it will not match, there may be surplus or else there may be deficit. See the word, fiscal deficit means the difference between total revenue as well as total expenditure of the government during the fiscal year is termed as, that is fiscal deficit. So friends, the difference, the particular difference, no, that will be met by the government through borrowings. So government will go to banks or government will go to certain areas and they will borrow the funds. So in that way, they will fill the gap between the total revenue as well as total expenditure. And one thing for sure, as of now, that deficit is there, that is 9.5% of GDP, that is the deficit. But Nirmala Sitharaman ma'am, she hopes that, so in couple of years, that deficit will be reduced to 5%. So as of now, that certain deficit is there. Next one, before going to these discussions, this analysis, no, what is the government revenues? Different kind of government revenues and government expenditures we are going to see. Friends, generally governments will get this revenue in the form of mainly interest. See the things, first they may get interest or they may get dividend, LIC companies, these dividends no, and as well as fees or other things like royalty they will receive, and they will receive some kind of spectrum fees, telecom spectrum fees, 4G, 5G, these fees they will receive. So in every year, whatever the government expectations about the revenue and expenditures will be presented in the form of budget. That is nothing but finance bill. Okay, chalo. So government revenues are there as well as government expenditures also there. Next one. What is finance bill? That is the point number one. Friends, finance bill actually it is meant for, that is the remission or alteration or regulation of taxes proposed in the budget. For that purpose, one and only weapon which will be used to make the amendments, that is nothing but finance bill. Okay, amendments can be made two ways. The first one is the finance bill and second one is the ordinance also. But government will make the amendments through finance bill itself. So the finance bill is the weapon to the government to make the changes to the different acts. What are the acts going to change? That we are going to see right now. Applicability of Finance Act. So friends, this finance bill or finance act applicable to each and every year. Which date onwards this is applicable? Friends, it is applicable for the 1st April of each and every year. That means the next financial year itself, these amendments are applicable. For example, this budget was made on the 1st February. These amendments are applicable exactly from the 1st April itself. Okay, unless otherwise provided, these amendments are applicable from the first day of the financial year. Suppose if any particular notification is given related to applicability, then these kind of amendments are applicable with respect to said date itself. If nothing is provided, we need to take the things from the 1st April onwards. So throughout the year, that is first day of the financial year itself, these amendments are applicable. Okay, but generally IDT amendments, indirect tax amendments are very effective. That means it will applicable generally within the particular date itself. But generally direct tax amendments are applicable not from the immediate date. It is applicable from the first day of the financial year. So this is the applicability of finance bill. Next, the most important things, what are the acts going to amended? Because of this, mainly Income Tax Act, direct taxes will be amended, and same way IDT also will be amended. IDT means, that is Customs Act also will be amended, and Customs Tariff Act also will be amended, and GST Acts also amended. Apart from this, certain other acts also will be amended. The other acts are as follows, that is Reserve Bank of India Act, RBI Act, or SCRA, that is Security Transactions Act, that is Security Contracts Regulation Act also amended, and the SEBI Act also amended. So mainly three things will be amended. The first one is the direct tax, and the second one is the indirect taxes, and other miscellaneous acts also like RBI Act and the SCRA. These kind of acts also will be amended because of this finance bill. Okay, now the most awaited topic for each and every individual in India, that is nothing but direct tax amendments. Okay, friends, let's start the topic. What are the direct tax amendments are placed in the particular budget? Today's budget we are going to see. First one, I wanted to start with the individual HUF, AOP, BY companies, cooperative societies tax rates. So point number one, as far as tax rates are concerned, there is no change at all. I repeat, there is no change with respect to tax rates. So income tax rates are not at all changed. See the things. First one is income tax rates are same as earlier, and as well as there is no change in surcharge and no change in health and education cess also. So no change in any particular tax rates, and as well as there is no change in the basic exemption limit also. But actually, so many citizens in India nowadays, they are waiting for the increase in the BEL, that is basic exemption limit. So many people, media also, so many people expected for the increase in the threshold limit. But honestly speaking, government of India is against to that thing. They have never changed the slab rates. Okay, what are the slab rates applicable for the assessment year 2021? The same slab rates are applicable for 21-22 also. So friends, there is no amendments as far as income tax rates are concerned. Neither tax rate nor the surcharge and the cess has changed. No change at all. So same things are applicable. So many people disappointed with respect to this particular thing because they expected 10 lakh basic exemption limit or 7 lakh basic exemption like this. So there are so many rumors. Okay, but honestly, what happened? There is no change in the tax rates. So whatever the tax rates are applicable for last year and as well as what are the basic exemption limits applicable for last year, the same things are only applicable now. So income tax rates, there is no change at all. That is the first thing. And one good news for senior citizens. India is celebrating 75th, that is what you call Independence Day, Independence year. So independence, no? So that is the reason, in order to give the benefit to senior citizens, Government of India has given one benefit now. That is nothing but they no need to file return of income. ROI is not required to file by senior citizen whose age is 75 plus. See the word senior citizens having an age more than 75 years with an income of only passive income. I repeat, only passive income, that is interest income as well as pension income. They are not required to file return of income. So those senior citizens, here senior citizen means don't think they are 60 plus. Here that particular point is applicable only for 75 plus aged people. So senior citizens having age more than 75 years with an passive income of interest as well as pension exempt from filing of return of income. But no doubt the payer may deduct the tax at source. So payer will deduct the tax at source TDS and the rest of the things are same, but return is not mandatory. So in order to give the relaxation from these kind of complaints, government has taken this kind of step for the senior citizen itself. Anyhow, it is a good move. So in 75th year of independence, the budget seeks to reduce compliance burden on senior citizens who are 75 years or above. Friends, one thing for sure, if the senior citizens having any income, business income or provision income or any other income, no doubt they are required to file return of income. This relaxation is only for individuals being senior citizens, that too who are 75 plus years old. They are not required to file return of income. This is the relaxation one. Next one, free filling of returns. While filing of returns, certain things automatically taken by the software itself. So see this one. So generally once upon a time, salary as well as TDS part, tax part, these things automatically taken over by the returns. But nowadays, the same thing extended to capital gains also. This is somehow easy compliance, very easy to fill the data. See the word, in order to ease filing of returns, the budget proposes that details of capital gains from listed securities and dividend income as well as interest from banks and post office will be pre-filled in the returns. So automatically system will take the same from the database. So it is somehow easy. You cannot modify these things. You may add certain other points which are missed, but this is the concept applicable. The particular form, income tax return form will take the data automatically from the database. So salary as well as TDS and long back itself, they have done this one. But as of now in this budget, today's topic, that is capital gain details from the listed securities as well as dividend income as well as interest from the banks and post office, they also will take automatically the information from the database. So we can easily file the return of income. So this is one good move. And the most awaited thing, tax audit limit. Friends, tax audit limit, that is earlier it was 5 crores, but nowadays it is increased from the 5 crores to 10 crores. Okay. drastically doubled, automatically it is doubled, 5 crores to 10 crores. But it is not for all. For your info, it is not for all. It is only for those persons who are going digitally. Okay, see the word, to incentivize digital transactions and to reduce the compliance burden of a person who is carrying almost all their transactions digitally. The budget proposes to increase the limit of tax audit for persons who are undertaking 95% of their transactions digitally. For that is from 5 crores to 10 crores they have changed. So out of your business transactions, if you do these transactions digitally, minimum 95% or above, automatically you are not subject to tax audit. I repeat, you are not subject to tax audit. Your tax audit limit has changed from 5 crores to 10 crores. If your turnover exceeds 10 crores, then only you are supposed to go for audit. Otherwise, not at all required. So it is a very good incentive for those people who are going digitally, who are going cashless economy, who are going for that. For that, this is very great incentive. So good move. So once upon a time, the limit was 5 crores. Nowadays, the limit is 10 crores. Next thing is, next amendment. Small charitable trust. You know, friends, charitable trust can claim exemption under section 11 as well as 12. But there is another exemption section also, that is section 10 subsection 23C. Once upon a time, the threshold limit is 1 crore, but nowadays the threshold limit is 5 crores. See this one? The threshold exemption limit under section 10 subsection 23C for charitable institution raised from 1 crore to 5 crores. I repeat, 1 crore to 5 crore. Once upon a time it was 1 crore, but nowadays they have changed the same to 5 crores. So friends, up to 5 crore, they will claim the exemption also, especially hospitals or educational institutions or universities who are claiming section 10 subsection 23C. For them, it is a very great incentive. Up to 5 crores that they may claim the exemption. So their turnover does not exceed 5 crores. Then automatically their compliance burden also almost all reduced. See the things, in order to reduce compliance burden on small charitable trust running educational institutions, hospitals, the budget proposes to increase the limit on annual receipts for this trust from the present 1 crore to, that is 5 crore, for non-applicability of various compliances. Friends, if they've gone for the exemption under section 1023C, so the turnover, that particular limit has changed from 1 crore to 5 crores. This is a great move taken for the purpose of small charitable trust. Okay, this is the section 10 subsection 23C exemption. Next, other amendments. Faceless proceedings. Friends, you know, in the Finance Act 2020, Government of India started the faceless assessments as well as placeless proceedings and everything. Now see the word, the faceless proceedings taken, that is adopted for the ITAT also. So National Faceless Income Tax Appellate Tribunal is applicable, that is faceless proceedings. So faceless proceedings before ITAT, Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, the proceedings are nowadays going digitally, electronically. So this is one great move. So assessment also, before assessing officer also it is faceless, and before the ITAT also, that is Income Tax Appellate Tribunal also, we are going electronically. So that they don't know with whom they are discussing, they don't know with whom they are dealing. So certain things can be eradicated automatically. So I hope you know all the things. Next, dispute resolution mechanism. Friends, dispute resolution mechanism is meant for the small taxpayers. I repeat, small taxpayers. So who are the taxpayers? Up to 50 lakh, that is their taxable income, and disputed income is 10 lakh, up to 10 lakh. In this case, they can approach this dispute resolution mechanism. Friends, you know, for transfer pricing purpose, there are DRP, dispute resolution panel, which comprising of 3 commissioners. Same way, for the purpose of small taxpayers itself, Government of India proposes to introduce one concept, that is dispute resolution mechanism. I hope you know Recently, last year also, so many people they disclosed their black money and they paid 85,000 crores income tax to the government, additional income received by the government. So same way, government also wanted to set up one mechanism for the small taxpayers. So that is dispute resolution mechanism. So those people whose taxable income up to 50 lakhs and disputed income up to 10 lakh shall be eligible to approach this committee for the purpose of faceless mechanism purpose. Okay, chalo. The dispute resolution mechanism has started. Next one, reassessment. I hope you know section 147 reassessment. So whenever there is a tax evasion, assessing officer has reasons to believe that certain income has escaped from the tax. Automatically, they can reassess. I repeat, they can reassess the things. For that purpose, the time limit for reopening the assessment reduced from 6 years to 3 years. Okay. Earlier it was 6 years. Now it is 3 years. So this is very good thing. So in case of section 147, so you can issue the notice under section 148 and you can do reassessment. The time limit has changed. That is 3 years. But one thing, in severe tax evasion cases, where there is a evidence of concealment of income of 50 lakh or more, then the assessment can be reopened up to 10 years. I repeat, up to 10 years, we can just reopen that. But only after approval of the PCIT, Principal Chief Commissioner of Income Tax. Okay. So reassessment thing. As far as reassessment is concerned, these two amendments are proposed. The first one is time limit reduced from 6 years to 3 years. That is one thing. And in case of severe tax evasion cases, that means the concealment of income that is 50 lakh or more, automatically the assessment can be reopened under section 147 up to the period of 10 years. But once upon a time that is only 6 years, but nowadays change it to that is 10 years. But PCIT permission is required. Principal Commissioner of Income Tax is required. So with the prior approval of the person, pre-CIT, we can serve a notice under section 148 and we can do reassessment under section 147. So this is the amendment. So those people who are evading taxes, no, for them, these kind of notices, 148 notice will be served and assessment will be made under section 147. Next amendment. Residential status of NRI. Friends, generally, you know, as far as section 6, subsection 1, section 6, subsection 2, section 6, subsection 6 is concerned, the basic rules and additional condition, basic conditions are applicable for determination of residential status. But nowadays, the determination of residential status of NRI, the period of stay has reduced from 182 days to 120 days. I repeat, 182 days to 120 days. See the thing, the period of stay to determine the residential status of NRIs to be reduced from 182 days to 120 days to attract the foreign investment. So, you know, so many NRIs, so many Indians who settled in abroad, they are remitting their foreign currency, their foreign earnings to India. So in order to encourage these kind of NRIs, their residential status purpose, the period has reduced to 182 days to 120 days. That means those persons, those individuals who stayed less than 120 days, so they will be non-residents. Whenever they are non-resident, they can have certain section benefits, right? Section 115C, all the sections they can take the advantage. So in order to encourage FDI, foreign direct investment, government has changed the definition of residential status for the NRIs. That period has been reduced from 182 days to 120 days. So this is one good amendment. So for the non-resident point of view is concerned. So government is very much interested in bringing that foreign currency to India, foreign earnings to India, so that they can create the wealth in India. So for that purpose, they wanted to encourage NRIs. So the period of stay has reduced like this. Okay, sure. Next one, 80EEA amendment. Friends, the time limit has been extended to another one more year. So, you know, March 31st 2022 was the last day of the applicability of this section. So see the thing, affordable housing and rental housing. Eligibility to claim section 80 EEA deduction extended by 1 year. See the provision, see this particular point. The finance minister proposed to extend the eligibility period for claim of additional deduction for interest of 1.5 lakh on loan taken for purchase of an affordable house to 31st March 2022. So they increased it. Earlier it was 31st March 2021. Now extended by another 1 year. So that was the time limit is 31st March 2022. In order to increase the supply of affordable houses, she also announced an extension of eligibility period for claiming tax holiday for affordable housing projects by 1 more year to 31st March 2022. For promoting supply of affordable renting housing for migrant workers, the minister announced a new tax exemption for this purpose itself. So friends, for affordable housing purpose and those persons who are constructing the affordable houses and renting now, so that renting process purpose also, the section has amended like this. So the time limit has extended by another 1 year. So 80 EEA is applicable till 31st March 2022 itself. So time limit has extended by 1 year. This is one amendment. And next amendment, in order to attract foreign direct investment FDI's purpose, this amendment has made. That thing is as follows. First one, notified infrastructure debt funds. See the things, everyone, that government wanted to allow notified infrastructure debt funds to issue zero coupon bonds in order to boost that funding in infrastructure. You know, government wanted to go for the so many infrastructure projects. For that purpose, they needed much funding. For that purpose, they wanted to attract FDIs. So in order to attract FDI, this is another move. So this is notified infrastructure debt funds can issue zero coupon bonds. This is one amendment they did. Earlier they cannot issue, but nowadays only notified infrastructure debt funds can issue zero coupon bonds. So which are tax benefit things for the SSCs. Next one, to attract foreign investment into infrastructure sector, the budget proposes to relax certain conditions related to prohibition on private funding, restriction on commercial activities, and direct investment in infrastructure. In order to allow funding of infrastructure by issue of zero coupon bonds, the budget proposes to make notified infrastructure debt funds eligible to raise funds by issue tax efficient zero coupon bond. So the ultimate amendment is as simple as that. Notified infrastructure debt funds can issue zero coupon bonds. Okay, this is the amendment. So this is mainly meant for the attracting the foreign direct investment. Okay, friends. Next one, startups. You know, this decade mainly meant for the startups. You know, so many billionaires has come up only because of the startups. Friends, see these things. In order to attract startups purpose, the section 80 IAC has extended by another 1 year. So deduction, now earlier 31st March 2021 was the deadline, but nowadays they extended by another 1 more year. See the things, ma? Deduction under section 80 IAC to startup entities extended by another 1 more year. Okay, so see the provision, see the paras. In order to incentivize the startups in that country, Nirmala Sitharaman ma'am announced extension in the eligibility of claiming tax holiday for startups by 1 more year till 31st March 2022. In order to incentivize the funds of startups, he proposed extending the capital gains exemption for investment in startups. So, you know, 80 IAC. So that benefit has extended by another 1 more year. So last date of applicability is 31st March 2022. So friends, this is the amendment as far as startups is concerned. Next, we can see the next amendment, advance tax. You know, once upon a time, tax on deduction should be paid, whether declared or distributed whichever is earlier. So now see this one. Advance tax declaration, that is advance tax liability, will arise only once the dividend was declared. See the word. For easy of compliance, advance tax liability on dividend income to rise only after declaration of dividend. Okay. So this is the amendment. So earlier, whenever whichever is earlier basis we need to do. Nowadays, only after declaration of dividend. Once it is declared, then advance tax liability will arise. Then the person has to pay the tax, advance tax liability as per that particular due dates. Next, IFSC. This is International Financial Service Centers. Friends, Nirmala Sitaram ma'am, she wanted to start, their government want to start a gift city. So they proposed to start one gift city. So those entities which are located in these areas as a financial, that is international financial service centers, can claim the exemption with respect to tax exemptions from capital gains as well as leasing of capital gains, one thing, and that is leasing of aircrafts also. See the things. In order to promote international financial service center in gift city, the budget proposes more tax incentives, which includes the things are as follows. Number one, tax holiday for capital gains from incomes of aircraft leasing companies. And second one, tax exemption for aircraft lease rentals paid to foreign lessors or tax incentives for reallocating foreign funds in IFSC, and allow tax exemption to the investment division of foreign banks located in IFSC. So, friends, in order to give the most beneficial things to the IFSC units, these are the amendments made. One amendment is for aircraft leasing companies. So, for them, capital gains are exempted, and other foreign lessors also who are giving these aircrafts on rental basis, they are also getting these kind of exemptions, but provided they must locate in the gift city, which are going to set up by the government of India. Central government wanted to start. And other amendments which are applicable for non-residents. Certain amendments for non-residents. I told you already for NRI, I told you one amendment. The due date for period of stay in India has reduced from 182 days to 120 days. And this is another amendment. This is related to non-resident. See the thing. Reduction of tax on dividend income at lower treaty rate for non-resident. So DTIA relaxations has given so that especially with respect to dividend income, very lower treaty rate, agreement rate is applicable. So as per their local conventions, they have to go. This is one amendment. And the second amendment, government to notify rules to eliminate double tax for NRIs on foreign retirement funds. So whatever the funds they are remitting to India, so on that they wanted to relax, that is double taxation avoidance agreements. If it is there, they wanted to give section relief under section 90. If not there, they want to give 91. So they have given more relaxations with respect to NRIs. Foreign retirement funds are concerned. Whatever they pay tax in their countries, that particular incomes also exempted in India. So they have relaxed it so far. And they have to clarify further regarding this point. With this, we have covered direct tax amendments. All direct tax, income tax amendments we have covered. So now it is time for indirect tax amendments. Certain indirect tax amendments we are going to cover. Indirect tax revenue is much more than the direct tax revenue. Even day before yesterday news also, I hope 1.2 lakhs crores GST revenue collected by the government of India. So post-COVID, they collected very much amount. So that is great move for Indian economy is concerned. Okay, anyhow. So as far as customs are concerned, many amendments. Customs is going to replace with so many notifications and so many changes. So see the amendments at a glance. Number one, customs duty rate. Customs duty rate on cotton, which is you are going to import. That is increased from 0 to 10%. Earlier that is 0. Nowadays they wanted to make it as a 10%. That is first one. And next one, government revokes anti-dumping duty and countervailing duty on certain steel products. So the steel rates are about to come down. So friends, the government of India wanted to revoke that additional duty of customs as well as CVD on certain steel products in India, so that the prices will come down. Next one, solar inverters. So government wanted to encourage domestic products with respect to solar inverters and other things. For that purpose, they made this amendment. So import duty rates on solar inverters as well as lantern are increased to boost domestic production. So whenever import duty has increased, so the prices may increase. So automatically people wanted to buy the local products. So this is one move they have taken with respect to solar inverters are concerned. Next one, very important move. More than 400 old exemptions under customs are about to reviewed. They are going to review and they are about to change these things. And 1st October 2021 onwards, the revised customs duty structure is applicable. 1st October 2021. They are yet to notify this one. These are the major amendments with respect to customs are concerned. Earlier, GST has subject to so many changes. Nowadays, they changed the customs also. So in customs, main things are the customs cotton. On cotton, the customs duty has increased from 0 to 10%. And steel products on that, ADD and CVD has reduced drastically. And next one is solar inverters also increased, that duty increased, so that local production we will use much more than the imported goods. So this is one amendment, and more than 400 old exemptions are about to reviewed and certain things are going to eliminate. Okay, so ultimately on 1st October 2021 onwards, we can have a revised customs duty structure. Okay, so this is a good transformation as far as customs are concerned. So these are the major amendments with respect to direct tax as well as customs are concerned. Now we are going to see the other miscellaneous part. What are the other amendments which are introduced as part of this finance bill we are going to cover? The first one is pollution. In order to reduce the pollution, vehicle scrapping policy has adopted by the government for the first step. So earlier also we heard this thing that is only grapevine. But nowadays we are able to find this comes into reality, that vehicle scrapping policy to reduce the pollution. So the thing is, public vehicles, that is private vehicles, 20 years is the time limit, whereas commercial vehicles is 15 years is the time limit. After that, compulsory it has to go for fit test. So it is okay through with the particular test, it is done. Otherwise, it will go for the scrap unit. Okay. As per the vehicle scrapping policy, the vehicles to undergo fitness test after 20 years with respect to personal vehicles, and with respect to commercial vehicles are concerned, 15 years is the deadline time. Okay, fine. So generally in India, we attempt to use the vehicle for one generation, another generation and another generation also. Generations together we will use the vehicle. But anyhow, so we have taken great move, even though it is somehow painful thing. So government of India wanted to scrap the thing after 20 years and the commercial vehicles after 15 years. This is one move as far as other than taxation point of view is concerned. Anyhow, so we will buy the vehicles more with this decision. Maybe automobile industry will get the good thing. Next one. The worst thing already the petrol rates and diesel rates. I hope you know the difference between petrol car and diesel car. That is 1 lakh plus difference will be there as far as price is concerned. But as far as the petrol and diesel is concerned, nowadays that is only after all 4 rupees or 5 rupees. So there is a much difference is not there. So thing is as follows: petrol as well as diesel is concerned, Government of India wanted to impose agricultural infrastructure cess. Okay, this is the special cess wanted to impose on this petrol and diesel. On petrol, they announced that is 2.5 rupees, and whereas on diesel they wanted to levy that is 4 rupees for each and every liter. Okay, so wait for the increase in the prices. Maybe triple digit we can already in some states it has happened. In Telugu states also it may happen, that is 100 rupees per petrol or diesel, like this it may happen. But anyhow, we are going to expect the hikes in petrol as well as diesel. This is another move which is painful to many industries. I hope you know, whenever the diesel prices are increases, generally other commodity prices also drastically may increase. Always there is a positive relation between these two things. So this is one move taken over by the government. But anyhow, wait for the results. Okay. Next, another thing, you know, one person company. So many people nowadays wanted to go for this one person company. So many amendments has changed as far as one person company is concerned. Especially some foreigners wanted to come to India and wanted to start LLPs or companies or one person companies also for what you call for attracting FDIs or else for encouragement purpose. So once upon a time, no before PV Narasimha Rao's PM that tenure, there was a license lost. But after that, when Mr. these reforms are started, automatically there is a game changer. So many things have changed drastically. Nowadays, Government of India also wanted to change this one. So many amendments, many things are simplified, relaxed for the purpose of OPC, that is one person company. First one, non-resident individuals with entrepreneurial potential are now able to set up one person companies with no paid up capital and no turnover restrictions. That too, they're reducing registration time limit for 182 days to 120 days. I told you residential status of NRI also changed, and as far as the tenure also has reduced. The registration deadline also reduced from that is 182 days to 120 days. This is one good thing as far as OPC is concerned. And next one, OPC company can set up within 120 days to give a boost to startups. In order to encourage the startups, so 120 days was the time taken over by the government, and government provides big boost to set up startups by allowing non-resident to incorporate OPCs in India. So nowadays, if you observe this budget, post-COVID, what happened, you know, so our growth, GDP growth as well as GDP rate, everything it drastically come down. Nowadays, it is okay, no doubt. But thing is, now we need to attract the foreign currency. Many people are not willing to go to China. So in this aspect, we wanted to encourage these kind of FDAs. For that purpose, if you observe, so many amendments has made for NRIs, especially that residential status, that residential period has changed, and OPC, that 120 days, you can just register within 120 days, just like that. And the next one, so many relaxations have given under no paid up share capital criteria, and the turnover restrictions are also drastically changed. So that no OPCs, we can come and we can just start OPCs and we can start our venture or we can start our business, especially to attract FDAs and to attract NRIs or non-residents. Government has taken very good move. Okay, this is the thing as far as OPC is concerned, one person company is concerned. Okay, chalo. Next, other amendments. These are non-related to taxes, just other amendments. What are the main amendments made by the finance minister? We are going to just see now. That is, finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman ma'am announces 35,000 crores for the COVID-19 vaccines. Okay, so 35,000 crores. I hope you know already our Indian government already using certain domestic made vaccines. Now, in order to boost up that particular industry, as well as in order to provide certain infrastructure, labs, testing labs are there. For that purpose, 35,000 crores has been allotted by the Nirmala Sitharaman ma'am, finance minister. And next one, FDI. This time, government wanted to go for disinvestment. Okay. For that purpose, first they wanted to allow the buyers to buy their stakes. So that is the reason they were allowing FDI, foreign direct investment in insurance sector, 49%. If you observe carefully, one by one sector, they are opening the doors for FDI purpose. Education system, they already opened. Media also, they already opened. And retail market also, they are opened. Nowadays, now it is time for insurance sector. So in insurance sector also, they're allowing 74% foreign share. And once upon a time, it is 49%. So major shares are domestic people will have, that is 51 magic figure. But nowadays, foreigners can have 74%, so they can have maximum share also. Okay, so this is one thing as far as the insurance sector is concerned. And our government wanted to go for IPO with respect to LIC also, maybe in 2022. So they will go for what you call IPO in 2021 or 22 generally. Next one, MCA 3.0, like Robot 2.0 already over. Now it is a MCA 21 3.0. Certain changes have made. The changes are as follow: e-scrutiny, electronic scrutiny, e-consultation, as well as compliance management. So that is upgraded version they are wanted to provide. So that is, and I told you just now, that is IPO with respect to LIC, that is Life Insurance Corporation. That is 2020. They want to go for public issue. Next one, NCLT to be strengthened by creating e-courts. So faceless economy, faceless what you call, they wanted to go for faceless assessment, faceless hearing, and faceless courts. That is e-courts they are going. So no physical things, only electronically they want to go, digitally they wanted to go. So this digital uh, era has started already. So these are the changes. And a very great amendment as far as law is concerned. Small companies. Companies definition has changed. Okay, the definition of small companies definition. See the word. The definition of small companies to be raised by increasing capital limit, earlier 50 lakh, now it is changed to 2 crore, and turnover earlier 2 crore, nowadays it is 20 crores. So that means those people who are having even double digit turnover also can be called as a small companies. Okay, so small companies who are having turnover up to 20 crore, and as well as another criteria, that is another second criteria, capital limit up to 2 crore, they will be treated as a small company. Okay, that is one amendment. And government to amend the definition of small companies by increasing threshold limits. That will benefit almost all 2 lakh companies in India from various compliances. I hope small companies will have very less compliances when compared to other units. So the definition has changed. So the limits has increased. So that many people will come under this sector. Many people will come under this definition purview. Automatically, what happen? They will get these benefits. So we are expecting almost more than 2 lakh companies will have these relaxations. So they will relax it from certain compliances, not all, certain compliances. So very important definition changed. That is small companies definition. The small companies, the conditions has changed. That capital limit earlier 50 lakh, nowadays changed to 2 crore. Turnover earlier 2 crore, nowadays changed to 20 crores. That is one change. Okay, chalo. Next one, our India is a still agriculture based country. Even 52 or 54% people, still 55% roughly, they are still doing agriculture, and they depend upon the primary agriculture sectors. So government they targeted the agriculture credit limit, that maximum, that is 16.5 lakh crores. So they wanted to disperse the money as a loans to these agriculture credit purpose. So this is a good move, because farmers may have much cash inflows. When they have much cash inflows, they can do things better way. So that is one move. And I told you just now, few minutes back. So disinvestment, government want to do disinvestment. They don't want to hold certain things, certain units. They slowly wanted to come out from these sectors, BPL and Concur and Pawan Hans, Air India disinvestment. But unfortunately, Air India disinvestment purpose, they're looking for so many good buyers. So for last 2 to 3 years, they are trying, but they are unable to get. Maybe post COVID, they may get the buyers. Anyhow, they are getting for a disinvestment. They are hoping for the best. They are thinking that the disinvestment may complete in the year 2021-22. It is not my personal opinion. I'm not I'm not support this disinvestment thing anyhow, but disinvestment is a government policy as of now. They wanted to complete this investment by Finance Act 2000, the finance year 2021 as well as 22. Okay, that is. Next one, that surface, that limit has reduced from 50 lakh to 20 lakh. So they wanted to bring more things into this sector. So for this purpose, they reduced the time limit, that monetary limit that was 50 lakh earlier, but nowadays they changed it to 20 lakh. So this is one proposed changes. So next, public census. So every 10 years, our government of India will take the census. Now, this time, first time in this history of India, we are taking the census digitally. First time we are going for digitally. So for that purpose, the allotted amount is 3,768 crores. See the things are 3,768 crores allotted for the upcoming census. But day before yesterday, I read in the newspapers that census are postponed to 2022. Anyhow, 3,768 crores are allotted for the census, but these census are different because these census they are doing digitally. This is the first time they are doing census, calculating the number of members, number of the people in India digitally. This is one good move. And I told you, MCA portal 3.0 version already launched. So they wanted to upgrade the things and the data analytics and as well as artificial intelligence AI and machine learning driven. These are the things they wanted to upgrade so that it is very easy for practicing people as well as students who are working on that. So these are the amendments as far as direct tax and indirect taxes and as well as other amendments are concerned. Friends, in this session, I have taken the certain points from direct taxes. What are the amendments for direct taxes and indirect taxes amendments, as well as other related things like public census and vehicle scrapping policy. These are the things. Mainly, this budget is focusing on 6 pillars. So that is health and digital economy and many things they have taken. And this is the first budget after the COVID issues. So that government is also very particular about this. But many people are disappointed with the income tax slab rates. Honestly speaking, many people expected that slab rate has changed to 10 lakhs like this, the third, but there is no change at all. And anyhow, rebate and relief, anyhow, these are common. So same earlier year tax rates are applicable, and there is no changes in other slab rates, and no changes in such as no changes in the education cess or health and education cess. There are no changes at all. But the main fundamental amendments are, in order to attract FDI, foreign direct investment, they changed the things. That is one major amendment. And IFSC also amended. That is second thing. And third one is that residential status as far as NRS has changed. That is mainly for FDI's purpose. And government focusing on the disinvestment also. Mainly Air India. So many things are in pipeline. So they are waiting for one after one. So anyhow, disinvestment they wanted to do. So this is the thing. So in this budget, mainly they have given importance for the health also. Okay. So many Pradhan Mantri health schemes has started. So for that also much funds has given by the finance minister. So these are the major amendments as far as this finance bill is concerned. Once this finance bill got approval and this got the assent of the president, automatically we can follow all those amendments with respect to finance act is concerned. Okay. So these are the things. Any other things, please let me know. Over to Rajan ma'am. Okay, sir. Thanks to one and all. Thank you very much. Thanks for your cooperation.